Very warm welcome, everybody, to what is episode 100 of Level Up. A fantastic milestone for us to reach, I think. 60 minutes, of course, of live Q&A where your questions, chat and votes really do drive the show. A very warm welcome to everybody who is joining us today on LinkedIn and YouTube. I've just seen Agnieszka joining in from Poland, and Ella is, of course, online as one of the social team as well from APMG, alongside Adriana, to be able to help you. Post a link in the chat to vote up the questions that you would most like answered, and of course, to add your own. We live stream, as you know, Mondays at 8 and Fridays at this time, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, UK time, to both YouTube and LinkedIn. If your question's selected, then your name will appear in the credits at the end of the show. So do get your questions in early and stay with us to see all of that unfolding. Today, we're celebrating our 100th episode. And so we're going to take a little step back and take some time to explore something of the vision, if you like, the mission and the purpose behind our weekly Q&A show. We began, of course, in summer 2021. And since that time, we've had the pleasure to become a key part of so many different people's career development around the world. Joining us today are some of the team who have really played an important part of that journey, helping us to build up and out and also to scale, our presence on the internet. So I'm going to jump straight in and introduce the panel for you for today. And don't forget, folks, you can put any questions really about live media production to this group. And in particular, those questions which are about the Level Up series itself would be really great. So let's begin by welcoming back Shanice Mitchell-Cox. She is, of course, our Customer Insight Manager here at APMG, and she leads the social team as well, who are online every episode building our engagement. She is, I think, to say, one of the best champions of the learner that I have ever met. So she's going to be colouring up a little bit at that, because she's a very modest lady, but she works tirelessly on everybody's behalf to improve our customer experience across the business. So welcome back to Level Up, Shanice. Great to see you.
Thank you so much, Nick. It's wonderful to be celebrating episode 100 today. So thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, are you coming to us from South Wales now, or are you still in the Thames Valley?
Yeah, I'm coming from a very wet and very rainy South Wales today.
All right. Well, we need some rain, actually. We do need some rain. Send a little bit more of that water downhill over to the Thames Valley would be welcoming of that. Nigel Mercer is usually behind the scenes, so you don't normally get to see him that often, actually, in front of a camera. His role has principally been the technical director for pretty much every episode, I think, although now we have other folks who are starting to pick up elements of that responsibility. So he's been patiently solving technical problems and building the event out right from the very beginning. Nigel, of course, in his day job, leads our business development work across Africa and North America. So welcome to the panel, Nigel, for Level Up.
Thank you, Nick. It's great to be here. Episode 100. Who would have thought it? Did not believe in summer 2021 we'd be sitting at episode 100. It's quite an achievement.
It's been a marathon made up of sprints, I think it's fair to say. So if you're in the agile world, you'll understand how that feels, okay? And if you're in the media production world, then I'm sure that you sympathise with us as well. All right, very good. Mart Rovers has been here as well, right from the outset. He's made 18 previous appearances on Level Up and has travelled between two geographies, really, between both the Europe and the US. A leadership consultant, of course, by day. He's been developing his media presence in parallel and bringing more value to his clients over at INTERPROM. Welcome back, Mart. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, APMG, for having me. I guess I need to feel fortunate that you still allow me to be back on after 100 episodes. So thank you for that. And I was asked to behave, so I will do my best.
Yeah, very good. No, you're always the voice of reason amongst the panelists. So thank you very much indeed. Also tying for the highest number rather, of appearances on Level Up is Etienne. So in alongside Mart, they've both completed 18 appearances so far. So it's your 19th show today, Etienne. A regular contributor, of course, and he's brought us his insight from those consulting and training work over at Symphonise Consulting. So, Etienne, whereabouts in the world are you today? And welcome back to Level Up.
Well, I'm usually in Johannesburg, but today, for the 100th episode, I decided to change things up and come to you live from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you for investing in the travel, and we appreciate it. So very good. I think actually we've had folks from that region who have been participants, but I'm not sure that we've had actually anybody from Saudi. So this might be a first for us as well, in terms of location that you're joining from. So really good. Thank you so much, Patrick. Yeah. Patrick von Schlag, of course. Sorry, go ahead, Etienne.
No, I was just going to say we've certainly had lots of viewers from Saudi Arabia. So
that's true. Yeah, that is true. We have a strong following there in that country, and it is really good to see in the chat just the range of geographies that Level Up is actually reaching across the world. Patrick von Schlag, of course, has also been with us from the outset on Level Up, and in his appearances, he's often been getting up actually in most unsocial hours to join in from his offices at the Deep Creek Centre over in the States. Patrick is so often, I think, the voice of common sense on our panels. He's made an outstanding contribution throughout and really gets me thinking and learning. Welcome back to Level Up, Patrick. Great to see you.
Nick, thank you. And it is a real privilege to be invited for your 100th. And I'm very, very excited that this whole approach has taken hold. It's really, really valuable for everybody.
Thank you so much indeed. Our question master for today is actually Jenny Hepler, who's joining us from the beautiful city of Pittsburgh over in Pennsylvania. And Jenny is also, I think, recovering a little bit from a COVID infection. So, Jenny, I'm just wondering, first of all, how are you? Are you okay?
Yes, recovering well, doing good, thank you.
All right. Okay. Excellent. Well, let's hope that the voice holds out. Feel free to, reach for the honey and lemon kind of as we go. So on that note, and just looking at how busy we are on the social side of the house, thank you so much, Winifred. It's great to see you joining from Freetown in Sierra Leone. Thank you very much indeed. And we've also got Samuel, who's been joining, and can't quite figure out where Sam is joining from, but I'll get back to that in a little while. Samuel, if you're listening to us, please do tell us which city you're joining from in the world. Excellent. Well, look, on that note, everybody, let's move on and take our first question, if we may, Jenny.
Sure. Our first question is from Rajesh. What was the objective and inspiration behind starting Level Up?
Well, that's a really, really good question, Rajesh. Thank you so much. Shanice, why don't you kind of start us off and then we'll hear from Nigel.
I think for us at APMG, it was about creating a community where we can all learn together. I think learning together, you have such a better success rate when you're part of a group. So creating an online virtual community was a huge inspiration for us as a Level Up team.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shanice. And I think you've done a really good job of bringing that to life and getting everybody, joining in, because sometimes learning can be quite a passive thing. People sit in a class and, the teacher teaches and, well, not everybody is paying attention. So it's quite a passive thing. But on Level Up, you have to join in, and encouraging that, engagement and participation is so important, isn't it? Thank you very much, Aditi. So, Nigel, your thoughts on the objective and the inspiration?
Yeah, well, as you know, just creating that sense of community has been a huge, huge thing for us. But I think we wanted to start something that wasn't just trying to throw products and sales pitches down people's throats. It was all about creating fantastic content. And to be honest with you, sometimes when you look around at some of the content that is available, it's a little bit underwhelming. So, yeah, the Q&A format has worked incredibly well. So that was part of the reason why, anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's at the beginning of all of this. I think people really did question, whether or not you could manage an hour of Q&A, and here we are 100 hours later, kind of thing. So it really is a significant change from the usual format of 55 minutes of somebody talking and then 5 minutes of questions at the end that never quite kind of get there. Mart, what are your thoughts on this one?
For me, when you reached out and said, "Would you like to contribute?" It was, I mean, I've had great opportunities to do with do episodes with APMG on webinars and Q&As. But this sounded like this is different, and even more the live aspect to it. That was new for me, to be honest. So that was kind of intriguing. But in general, it had this educational aspect to it, and that's of course what I pretty much do for as long as I'm consulting since '92 and training. So that of course was the appeal. And then what I learned over time as well, especially when I was involved in volunteer organizations, it's about giving back. Um, I mean, there is this quote: "The greatest use of life is to spend on something that outlast life, your life." And I think this is part of that. As in, there's value in these episodes now, but in a year from now, there's still value if you listen to these episodes. So that all played into it. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I think you're very much you've hit the nail on the head there. You really have indeed, Mark, with this sense of community and giving back and value and generosity. Patrick, your thoughts, please.
So the internet and most training programs are one voice providing you a particular perspective on a question. And that isn't to say that that person doesn't have something useful to contribute, but it's much more effective when you get different perspectives, when you get different points of view, when you create real interaction between people asking questions and people, and sometimes in real time, having to wrestle with those questions and think about different perspectives to be able to come to a better sense of how we might problem solve together. And so Level Up offers all those dynamics, not just among the panelists, but between the panel and the live audience, that creates something just so much richer. And it's just a privilege always to be invited to be one voice in that discussion.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I think that the multiple takes on individual questions is such an important dimension to it. We've had project management specialists sitting alongside, people who were focused more on organizational change, people who were, agilists, people who were, thought leaders in, particular industry and so on. And all of them working together, trying to answer an individual's question, something that is challenging them right now today, has given this fantastically rich set of answers, to be able to consider. One person's name that I've not mentioned on Level Up, but I will do now, and was part of the inspiration behind all of this, is a gentleman called Alex Lindsay. And we'll put his name into the social feed for you. Now, if you Google Alex Lindsay, you'll find out that he has a background in film and live media and these kinds of things. And I was following him on YouTube for a long time, before we kind of came up with the concept for Level Up. But some of the work that he's been doing around the world has been really fundamental, in shaping our thinking as to how you can get a group to work together and collaborate in this way. So the inspiration behind it was others. Yep, certainly. The objective behind it, though, has been, I think, very well explained by our fellow panelists today. So on that note, let's move on. If we can, then please, Jenny, and we'll take our next question.
Sure, Nick. I think this one's really interesting. This is from Henrik. How does APMG select the topics for the episodes?
Okay, this is a real conundrum that foxes so many people all of the time, and so I'm just going to answer this straight. Okay, the way in which I do it, all right, so it's my fault. It's all my fault, everybody. And the way in which I go about it is that I look for search terms, phrases that real people are looking for. So sometimes when you're inside an industry, particularly like an education and training industry, you imagine that people are searching for your products. But actually, most of the time, they're not. Okay. The thing that people are searching for is whatever their problem is. Okay. And then they're hoping to discover your product as a potential solution, if you like. So I actually went online and I spend a lot of time looking at the kinds of phrasing in searches that people type into Google in order to be able to discover the products and the services around continuing professional development, around teaching and learning, around project management, change management, management of business relationships, and all of the other topics that are represented across the APMG portfolio. So that's kind of where the theme titles come from, all right? And then they translate obviously into episodes, and we invite panelists to come and join us. And we often get the question at the beginning of every episode, well, shouldn't the title be slightly different? And my answer to that is, it may be, but nonetheless, this is actually the phrase that people are truly searching for. All right, very good. So that's the kind of background behind that. Jenny, if we can, please, let's move on. We'll take our next question.
Next question is from Stefan. Were there any thrilling or most remarkable moments that you can recall?
All right, Nigel, start us off on this, please, and then we'll hear from Shanice.
Okay, so probably the most thrilling was pressing the stream button on episode 1 to see whether or not it would actually go live and what would happen when it went live. So that was a remarkable moment for us, obviously, trying to, because a lot had led up to that moment in time that we had pressed the stream button. But, with some of the platforms, it's not that easy to test this stuff beforehand. Even though we had extensive YouTube testing, LinkedIn testing just didn't exist. And it was in a beta program. So was it actually going to go live? It was quite thrilling and quite scary. But thankfully, it did go live and it all worked out well. So that was an interesting one.
Yeah, absolutely. It most certainly was. I do remember I got a little note. I don't know if you remember this, Nigel. I got a little note from our head of IT operations saying, Nick, do you realize that you're live on LinkedIn? And it was one evening because it was a beta product. Again, you couldn't tell if you were live or not. And I was just kind of staring at the screen, waiting for something to change, and nothing changed. And it was actually Dave King that told me that, no, look, it has changed. You are definitely live. So then I had to scramble and explain what 5 minutes of me looking puzzled was all about to the 40,000 followers of APMG. Not remotely embarrassing. All right, very good. Shanice, remarkable moments, and then we'll hear from Etienne.
I think mine has got to be the first episode as well. I was so nervous. I can actually remember my heart beating so fast. I thought I was going to pass out. But it really changed my perspective of speaking online and the value I can get to push myself. I was so nervous, and I could see it on the first episode that I was so nervous, but pushing myself has actually encouraged me in so many aspects of my life. So that was my most remarkable moment from Level Up.
All right, excellent, very good indeed. And I think you're right. I think at the beginning of this, we were all quite nervous, okay, and that's perfectly normal. And but I don't know how you managed it, but it didn't show at all. So very good. Etienne, your thoughts, please, and then Patrick.
Well, I think for me, the big thing was actually being invited to take part. That was such an honor. And so that was a thrilling moment. And then I managed to meet the man whose name and signature is on the bottom of all my APMG certifications. I've got all of these certificates with this guy's name on the bottom, and I finally got to work with and meet him. So, yeah.
Well, that's really funny. Thank you very much indeed. I did actually pass recently an APMG qualification, and I was thinking about, getting a certificate from myself and kind of putting it on my fridge, if you like. So to kind of see what that would look like. It would be one of life's more bizarre moments, I think. Patrick, your thoughts, please.
So the first time I got invited to be on one of the panels, to Etienne's point, it's a real privilege just to get the invitation. But I was concerned because I've done lots of live panel discussions. I run lots of webinars and programs, but I had never done a program like this. And I didn't really understand how the dynamics would work, how the logistics would work, how coherent the program would be. And so one of the things I learned very quickly is how much work APMG does behind the scenes to create this experience for the learners and for the panelists. And so just the level of effort involved in making all these things work was truly astonishing. And by comparison with any other online experience I've been part of, it is truly remarkable the level of effort that goes into producing these at the level of quality that everybody gets. And I think people see the benefit.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Shanice, you wanted to add something.
I do. I wouldn't say it's thrilling or remarkable. It is a bit funny. So before, in the first series, there was a time we were doing the onboarding session, and me and my colleague were trying to show one of the panelists what is the best camera to use. And in doing that, we pull the camera off of the laptop, thinking that we were going to show it.
Okay.
It was the funniest thing I've ever been a part of.
It's remarkable how kind of brain and hand and muscle memory just don't work in that moment, isn't it? And it is something that kind of happens with all of us, I think. And I think certainly, that's very true. Thank you so much. I think the most remarkable thing that I would reflect on across the 100 episodes is the sheer scope and scale at which people have asked us questions, and the way in which somehow or another the panel has had an opinion and a view. I think we've only ever had one question that really was outside of the scope of a panel to be able to offer an answer to in real time, and then we had to go back and find that out and provide that answer later. But so no, it's a truly remarkable achievement from all of the panelists, and a fantastic thing to be able to witness. So very good indeed. Jenny, if we can, let's press on, please, and we'll take our next question.
Absolutely. So Suchitra asks, can each member of the panel share one key learning from being on the Level Up shows?
All right, very good. So Suchitra is, of course, our regular question master on Level Up, and she joins usually on Mondays. Nigel, why don't you start us off? Then we'll hear from Etienne.
Yeah, I think, one key learning point from this is that there are many, many people in your team around the world that are more than willing to share their expertise and their time, if you just ask them to get involved. So it's built a fantastic sense inside APMG as well as outside. So I think that was one key learning point for me, apart from all the technical stuff, of course.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Etienne, then Shanice.
I think for me, the biggest learning was how much new information I can get from people in an hour. It's amazing how many, even though I'm on the panel and I'm invited as a subject matter expert or as someone who can share opinions on this, it's amazing how much you can actually learn from others and how many different answers you can get to one question. And I just learned that there are so many different perspectives to things that we all often take for granted. We think we know the answer, and then suddenly there's 5 different answers to the same question. It's like, oh wow, I never thought about it that way. And it's amazing how much you can learn in a single hour.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it's particularly true when you are, principal consultant and you're generally working in a leadership role, because, how do you continue to learn unless it's actually, from this rounding out concept, from picking up ideas and concepts, from others. So absolutely right. Shanice, your thoughts, please, and then we'll hear from Patrick.
My thoughts would be that when you are the importance of networking and reaching out of your comfort zone and connecting with people who you most probably wouldn't have met before. I know we go to so many, especially before the pandemic, we went to so many in-person events, and do you get all that time to speak to each person at that event? No, you don't really. So it's nice online that you can speak to so many people and then still connect straight after the show as well. You can continue that relationship building.
Yeah, absolutely right. Patrick, your thoughts, please.
One of the real benefits of being a panelist on these programs is just the raw exposure to all of this talent, all of these folks, not just the other panelists, but quite frankly, some of the people asking the question, who are bringing different perspectives, different innovations to the question. And they challenge me to think differently about the problems I'm trying to solve for my clients. And they help me to gain a different level of appreciation to, as Etienne said, all the different potential ways that different smart people might answer one particular question.
Yeah, indeed. I completely agree with that. Mart, final thoughts on this?
What most people probably don't know that are watching is that how well we're coached by APMG, being on the panel and being well prepared. And one of the things that I learned was certainly front load your answers, as in give your answer, make the point in the first sentence or two, and if you want to expand, all right, but don't spend 2 minutes and then finally we hear the answer. Especially for a show like this, but in general, whether you teach or consult, that was a key moment, and yeah, it's ingrained and implanted forever. So thank you, APMG.
Okay, all right, very good indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Mart. Excellent thinking panel, and what a great question, Suchitra, as well. So, thank you so much, Arlene. Thank you very much for joining us from Barbados. Hope the weather is good and you've been dodging the hurricanes over there. San Antonio in Texas, Sondria, lovely to see you, and Suchitra joining in today in between some family celebrations as well that are going on over there in Bangalore in India. Arlene, what a lovely comment. And I'm just going to read this one out because, Arlene strikes to the heart of really what APMG is about as a business. As you know, we take ideas from people, from thought leaders around the world, and we turn them into, meaningful education and training and qualifications and so on. And that sense of co-creation, that's something that is right at the heart of our business. So, we really appreciate that you've picked up on that. It's such an important part of how we work. And it's really lovely to see that becoming, echoed back to us from yourself. So spot on. Thank you very much indeed, Arlene. Okay, Jenny, if we may, let's press on. We'll make a bit of progress and take our next question, please.
We have another question from Suchitra. How did having a good tech setup help in the success of the shows?
All right. Well, Shanice, why don't you start us off, and then we'll hear from Nigel, who's often on the receiving end of everybody's technical setup.
So I'm going to cover the part that I mainly focus on as part of the Level Up team. I think it was so important for us to be able to have good video and good audio, especially audio for a podcast. I think podcasts are so important. They're such a great way of learning when you're on the go. So having a good tech setup to make sure that we could strip the audio from the show to create a YouTube video and an audio as well as the live stream, was crucial for us.
Yeah, and those podcasts have been a really useful format because it has focused us so much on thinking about how people consume content. And, I'm learning a lot at the moment around desktop software, things like Microsoft Excel and so on from TikTok. And I really enjoy the audio versions of the shows because, you can listen while you're walking the dog or going and getting your shopping and this kind of stuff. And it's actually a really, really useful format. So thank you so much to all the team. And I know Shanice is right at the heart of that. Very early on, you were saying, we should do a podcast version because lots of people like to listen on their way, on their commute, perhaps, or while they're doing other activities. Absolutely right. Nigel, how important is it having that firm foundation for good technical setup?
Yeah, Nick, it's actually super critical to the success of the show. Okay? So I'm glad Shanice mentioned audio. It's one of the things that we focus on heavily in this program. I think being able to hear somebody crisply, clearly, without background noises, it's so important to the clarity of their voice, the way that they're speaking. Everything comes across naturally if you can hear somebody in their natural voice. It amazes me, though, that how many people have not realized that the built-in laptop microphones and most of the little headsets that they can buy down at the local store are just nowhere near good enough to do what we're trying to do here. And I think we're trying to do this in HD. Yeah? We're not high HD, but we're trying to do it in HD. So that means HD audio as well. And you need a good, decent quality microphone. You need a good, decent camera and a stable internet connection. All of the guests on Level Up are always remote. And that's what people don't realize, that this is a distributed environment. It's all over the world, right? The studio that we're running from today I'm in it, and it's in Cape Town, South Africa. Nick, you're in the UK, Patrick, US, Mart, US, Etienne, Saudi, Shanice is in the UK. So we've got people from all over the planet at the moment on the show. And, I think there have been some shows where we've represented people from literally almost every continent live simultaneously. And you can't do that without having a good, stable platform. Some of the things that we recommend that you really do get yourself a decent microphone. We have tested so many microphones on this show, and we utilize. I think Nick has a cupboard full of microphones, as do I, that we have tested over the last sort of year. But we use a variety of microphones on the show. I use a Rode mic. You can see the Rode mic on there. I think quite a few folks in APMG have this particular model, which is a little NT-USB Mini, they call it. Fantastic little microphone. And cameras are really important as well. We use sometimes these little, SLR cameras, the 5Ds. Some of these, there are a lot of different cameras. This is a 250D that I use personally. I think Nick has the same one. But these SLRs give you sort of next level, imaging. One of the other cameras you can use is C922. Those great C920 series, the Logitech Brio. Both of those work well. That's the C922. So the Brio is a great camera, by the way. If you really don't want to invest a huge amount of money, this is a camera. It's a 4K camera. You can keep it with you for a long, long time. Yeah, it's a great, great camera. And lastly, get yourself a microphone boom arm. It just makes life so much easier. Isolates everything. And it works really well. So the tech setup is critical. It really is critical. Wi-Fi, don't use it. Yeah? Don't use Wi-Fi. It's a nightmare for this sort of thing. Go with a cable. Yeah? Really, really important. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah, I think it really does. What I really liked there was, and I'm sure it was deliberate, was your graphic of the boom arm was perfectly placed, Nigel, so that you could actually talk directly into the capsule of the external microphone. And it's amazing now that you can get really good sound quality for a fairly modest budget if you know what to ask for, okay, and if you go on recommendation. Mart, your thoughts about the tech setup, please.
Just a small comment. I did ask Nigel before the episode, please do not retouch my wrinkles. It took me 100 episodes to earn them. So, and he did.
Okay. Yeah, very good, very good. It is something that we do think about a lot. All right, is something called cognitive load, and you may have noticed on Level Up we never use virtual backgrounds, and it's for a very, very good reason. As human beings, we're programmed to recognize faces, so we really focus on making sure that everybody's face can be seen, that it's clear, and that you can hear us properly. And when those two things come together, it makes for powerful communication, clear communication, and some great outcomes, for learning and development. So those are the fundamentals. And thank you, Nigel, for encouraging us to plug in the first place, to invest in some good audio so that we can be heard, and finally to think about how we are going to appear in terms of the cameras and the equipment that we're using. Excellent. Very good. Jenny, if you're able to, let's move on and we'll take our next question, please.
Our next question is from a live viewer. This is from Diane. What is this, excuse me, what is the strategic approach utilized which has ensured the successful continuity of Level Up?
Okay, well, I'll start us off in answering this one. I think the key thing, which is at the heart of it, is engagement. So right from the outset, we've invited people to follow us. We've not pushed people to do so. You can opt in by subscribing to a weekly update that we send out. Most weeks, we've missed a couple of weeks just because of other things, but generally it comes out every week, okay? And that engagement is really, I would say, at the heart of it. It's something which is easy to say, and you have to work hard to get it right. You really, really do have to kind of keep at it all of the time. So, Nigel, your thoughts on the strategic approach, please, and then we're going to hear from Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. I mean, I think apart from a strong, solid technical background and, of course, good topics, because that's really important as well, I think I have to reach out and say thank two sets of folks here, because they are really a key element in the strategic direction of Level Up. And one of them is our internal team. Those are the folks that are responsible for finding, sourcing, and putting on decent guests, people that know what they're doing and can talk about each topic. And we want to thank all of you guys for doing that internally. And of course, secondly, the guests, right? Because without you, we don't have a show. And I think looking at this format, though, I see this continuing well into the future with some nice evolution in as well. So.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. It is such a key part, that whole kind of talent engagement, the management of the talent and bringing new talented people in is really, really critical. Patrick, let's hear your thoughts, then we'll go to Shanice.
So just to build on what Nigel just said, having live questions from live people makes this program fundamentally different than a lot of other programs on the internet today, because it allows us to take all the research that went into identifying a program topic and to make it immediately pragmatically useful to the people who are actually there trying to solve problems, trying to ask hard questions, and trying to take advantage of the perspectives of the panelists. So, I look forward always to being part of these panels when I get invited to do so, because it allows us in a very different way to engage with a lot of people in a very practical way, and also, helps us be resourceful, be effective, right? To Mart's point, to help really be able to deliver something meaningful and useful that someone can act on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Shanice, please.
I think continuous improvement also needs to be mentioned as well, because when we look at where we started in the first episode, the whole team, panelists, and even comments from the audience was always about continuously improving the show, making it more accessible over different platforms, always making sure that there was information out there that was going to help the audience always. And I think that's always been at the forefront of Level Up.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Mart, final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, there's been 100 episodes, but if you would ask, so which episode did you like? I mean, we don't know which number, what the title was, and so on, but we will remember our moments. And that's what this show has given us, this level up, many, many moments from so many different perspectives. So I think that's also key.
Yeah, I agree with you. Those kind of moments of truth, if you like, they're kind of little golden moments, throughout where, there's been a quantum shift in thinking. With me, I've had the pleasure to learn from hundreds of experts, in a very short period of time, and that's been a huge privilege, for my own professional development. It's really, really helped me a great deal, get a little bit of an insight, into the world of other people, and to be able to, use their expertise to help inform my thinking and my judgment. So it's been excellent. Thank you very much indeed, panel, and a great question. So let's move on, Jenny. If we can, we'll take our next question.
Our next question is from Samuel. This question just came in, and I think Mart actually just touched on this a little bit, but I think it would be great for the panel to expand on this. So do you have any particular episodes, topics, questions which have been particularly memorable?
All right. Okay. Well, the memorable ones are often those kind of moments of truth. Etienne, start us off, then we'll hear from Shanice.
I think my most memorable topic would be the episode we did on digital transformation, because that just tied into so many different ideas. We brought in so many ideas from agile and lean, and there were just so many topics covered by this one broader topic, and so that'll always be a memorable kind of topic for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fascinating combination, wasn't it, that one? And it moved at some pace, I think, as well. So kind of the hour was over in a heartbeat almost. Shanice and then Patrick.
I think the first one for me was when we came back for series 2 at the start of this year. I think we had taken a break over Christmas. We had come back, and I think everyone had kind of missed Level Up, because there were so many people part of the episode. And from my perspective, and most probably the Level Up team's perspective, it was like, are we going to get the same amount of audience that we got last year? And to see it kind of double when we returned was just such an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's really is quite interesting, isn't it? How the audience kind of grows and then it ebbs away and then it kind of comes back 3 or 4 times stronger than it was at the beginning. Absolutely spot on. I agree with that. Patrick, your thoughts?
So I've gotten the privilege of working in a variety of different areas, and one of the ones that I liked the best talked about the NIST cybersecurity framework. And when you talk about security, the temptation is to focus very much on very specific, very technical things. And the conversation we had, instead, to Etienne's point about digital transformation, was all about this broad move to how do we balance digital value creation and digital service protection, and how do we balance strategy and risk. And the conversation was so rich, and it really helped reset our thinking about looking at security as an integrated part of a digital business strategy. And so I took a whole lot from that discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I know that Ella has very kindly posted a link to a feature on the APMG International website, which is where you can actually click on that page and then you can search every episode. You just type 2 or 3 words in of the topic or the question of your choice, and then you see all of the answers to all of the questions. And there's about 1,400 of them. So there's a good chance, actually, that you'll find something which makes a lot of sense to you, including actually one of the most memorable moments for me is when we first began having the conversation. Could we also do this in other languages? Outside of English, the English community, could we explore local language content? So we've done several episodes now in German, which is fantastic. And the first one of those was a major milestone for us. And then also more recently, we just had our first episode in Polish. So we're looking forward to Italian episodes. We're looking forward to Spanish episodes. We're looking forward to a whole variety of languages as we have communities all over the world, which would be really, really great. So if you would like a local language version episode, then please do let us know in the chat, and we'll see what we can do to arrange a panel who have that as their first or second language. Very good. Let's move on, Jenny, please, and take our next question.
Our next question is from Henok. What is expected from me to be part of the session as a panelist?
Okay, all right. That's a really good question. Expectations are really important. Nigel, start us off from your perspective.
Well, it obviously it helps to have some knowledge of the subject matter material that we're talking about. Okay, because without that, it's a bit tricky. On a technical side, we would just expect you to have the equipment. We help you through that process. We'll provide you with some kit lists, stuff that will make your life a lot easier. Yeah? But you can reuse that kit in everything that you do online, so you can change the way you look and sound online from that moment on. But we really expect you to come along, contribute, and invite everybody else to come and watch the show. That's pretty much what we're looking for.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that there's, a few different things. First of all, there's before the event. Okay, we would really like to encourage anybody who's coming to engage your followers. We all have a social media presence, and bring your people with you is what I would say. Get them submitting their questions into Slido. That's why we use it, so that you can put your questions in ahead of the event. That's the first part. The second part then is when the event is running is just simply to speak from the heart. We don't expect panelists to be able to answer every question. That's not the point. The strength is in the team. It's the team, it's the panel who bring the strength to every episode. So we don't expect you to know the answers to everything. That's not the point. But we do invite you. And so far, it's been very generously responded to by every panelist that, people just speak authentically. So you won't find from us 100 things not to do as a manager. All right. You won't find some cheesy, trite quote, which is kind of hashtag Insta moment being quoted on Level Up. What you will find is real experience and people just sharing, what? That sounds a really tough situation to begin. Here's my thoughts. This might be helpful to you. Consider this. Look at this website. Here are some templates. These kinds of things. It's the stuff that we use day in, day out in our consulting careers, in our management careers, that we're sharing all of the time. So from my perspective, that's all that I would ask a panelist to do. Okay, be yourself, because everybody else is taken. All right, very good. Let's move on, if we can, Jenny, and take our next question.
So our next question is from Lisa. What can the audience expect from future Level Up episodes in terms of content and format?
All right, so direction of travel for Level Up. Nigel, do you want to talk a little bit about graphics and these kinds of things? Because we are starting to experiment a little bit more kind of with those to add some value.
Sure, Nick. Well, I think one of the things is we're not going to let out the cat out of the bag here. Okay, obviously we have a whole lot of stuff planned, But in terms of a roadmap, it's really about the constant evolution. Yeah, we've been focused so far on building a show template that is solid, that works, that gets guests in, that everybody sounds good and looks good. What we haven't really done is focused on making it look flashy. Now, we don't really want to make it look flashy per se. What we do want to do, though, is we want to provide you with the maximum amount of information in a format that is easy to digest. So things like QR codes that are on screen now, we use those fairly extensively. But what we will be doing in the future is looking at using more production graphics. Okay? And that will be in distributed environments, so we can have people around the world operating, putting those production graphics into play. And the real intent behind those is not to make the show look and feel different or flashy. It's to provide more information to you as the viewer to be able to get more benefit out of the show. So that's the first sort of thing that we'll be talking about.
Thank you very much indeed. Shanice, I know that you've been pioneering engagement right from the very beginning. What's our kind of view on where are we at with engagement and what's the direction of travel?
So we've had a very successful 2 series. We have had a lot of engagement across the world. I think making sure that we have the access to get more questions in from different platforms, live streaming to other platforms in the future. As you can see, our engagement so far is very good. Something I'm quite proud of myself. Obviously, to grow and make it a lot more accessible to other people as well. So continuing to enhance our episode search as a question bank is something that I personally want to invest a lot of time in. And as you can see from the stats here, we've had 170 panelists plus on this show. So hopefully growing that week on, week out, getting more people involved to level up your career.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. And some of those numbers are, quite incredible, really, aren't they? And I think that was one of the things I would say from the direction of travel. What's going to, let's use this start, stop, continue. What are we going to start doing? Well, as Nigel says, we're going to add more value, into every episode. So we'll be doing that in a variety of different ways. What will we kind of continue with? Well, there it's that journey about engagement, all right, and building that following. So, if I could ask you, a favor, please, can you share this with your own networks? All right, when you watch us on YouTube, click the little like button and subscribe to the channel. And then please do share the videos with your colleagues, because that's how other people discover us and that's how the audience grows. What will we stop doing? Well, we have learned along the way, we've experimented, and there are always some things that don't quite turn out the way that you would like them. So, we try and learn from that. And every episode, our panelists tell us what worked well for them and what didn't. And that helps us to tune our approach. So if there are some things that you think are less valuable than others, then do let us know, and we'll incorporate your thinking into our future direction. So very good. Well, look, panel, we've kind of run out of time now, I'm afraid, on this particular episode to celebrate our 100th show. So let's get some closing remarks if we can. We'll do it in the traditional way. We'll start at the top of the order. So Nigel, if you could give us your thoughts, please, and then we'll go to Patrick.
Yeah, look, well, obviously, excuse me, looking forward to the next 100 shows. Yeah? I can't wait to see what we, come up with in that. And it's a fun thing to be creative, but I think the most important thing is giving back to the community, providing a huge amount of knowledge, free learning knowledge for those people that either can't afford it or do not have access to that sort of information. This is a fantastic resource to be able to use. And I'm not even sure that we expected it to be this good when we first started it, but we're really, really happy with the way it's turned out. And I think that just growing that bank is the most important thing looking forward.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Patrick and then Mart.
When I was first invited to be part of one of these programs, I didn't quite know what it would be like or what to expect. And what I found is one of the best online vehicles for creating connection between and among professionals across the world who are trying to share thoughts and expertise and perspectives, and many, many, many people just trying to problem solve in their own organizations and looking for guidance, looking for suggestions. And of all the online programs I've had the privilege of being part of in my career, I couldn't be more proud of being part of this program because of the impact you're having across the world for your stakeholders and for all of the audience. So thanks to everybody who's watching these things. And we hope that these are valuable to you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I couldn't agree more. Mart, your thoughts, and then Etienne.
And so celebrating what we're giving to each other through Level Up are things that cannot be gift wrapped.
That's very true. It's quite a deep connection that we're starting to build with people, and it's something that, by the way, every episode we say this. And if you're sitting thinking, I'd like to make those personal connections, then do look for the biographies of the panelists on the website, and connect with us on LinkedIn. We're always welcome new connections on LinkedIn from fellow professionals. Etienne, your closing remarks, and then we'll hear from Shanice.
Well, a big thank you to APMG. It's been an incredible journey the last, I think I joined with episode 3. So I've been here pretty much since the beginning. I've grown a lot. I've become a lot more comfortable on camera. I've made so many connections. I've networked with fellow panelists. I've made network connections with viewers, and it really has been an incredible journey. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully being invited back in the next 100 episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Shanice, and then Jenny.
I would just love to say, please share with people who you think would benefit out of Level Up. The more we share, as we've known through the whole 100 episodes of Level Up, the more benefit everyone gets out of it. So just share the show, listen to the podcast, and definitely get involved, because it's a great thing to be part of.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Jenny, thank you so much for, managing all of the questions for us today. We really appreciate it. Your closing remarks on the 100th episode.
Yeah, I just want to say again, congratulations, to the entire Level Up team. Thank you to the panel today for joining, and to all of the panelists over the past 100 episodes. I know when I started at APMG, Level Up had just begun, I think, a few months before, and I was just amazed that something like this existed. And I had never seen something that created such an amazing sense of community within the professional community, as well as within the different schemes and the topics. It's really been amazing, and to hear the feedback as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And thank you for bringing yourself and just at the end of your recovery from COVID as well. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much, Jenny. So look, everybody, I'd like to thank one last time on behalf of you all, our panelists, and also to thank each and every one of you who are watching. You are our producers, as was so eloquently highlighted earlier on. This is a co-creation. Every Level Up episode is. So thank you for your excellent questions today. Great job. And watch out for your name in the credits if your question was selected. Well, let's think about what's coming up next on Level Up. Of course, you can listen to the audio versions of the shows on your preferred podcast platform. And don't forget to jump over to YouTube and subscribe to the APMG International channel. That would be really excellent. Monday the 10th, we move on to focus about how to build your skills in business relationship management before hosting another German language episode on Friday the 14th, as we explore the theme of love it, leave it, or change it. So please do forward that notification to your German-speaking colleagues around the world to let them know all about it. Subscribe to the show, of course, and we'll send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you too can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. Thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye then.